There are only 4 differences between the preborn, which some say is not human, and the newborn, which they say is human. Let's examine those 4 differences and see if it still makes sense to say that it's okay to kill preborn babies, but it's not okay to kill newborn ones.
The first difference between a preborn and a newborn is their size. Of course, the preborn is typically smaller than a newborn. Some even object by saying, how can you call something the size of a dot a human being? That's a good question. How can something so small be human? Well, why can't something so small be a human being? Are large people more human than small people? Men are generally larger than women. Does that mean that men deserve more rights than women? Kevin Hart and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are 2 different sizes. Is Kevin less valuable just because he's smaller and Dwayne Johnson more valuable just because he's bigger? If size has nothing to do with the value of a human being, then how can we say the life inside of its mother is of less value simply because it's smaller? The second difference between a preborn and a newborn is their level of development. I've heard people ask, how can something that's not fully developed yet be a person? Or how can something whose brain is still developing and who's not even self-aware be a human being? Well, imagine if your development or abilities determined your value as a person. A person's brain is still developing well into their 20s. A 6-year-old's reproductive organs aren't fully developed like those of a 16-year-old. Is that 6-year-old less of a person than the teenager just because she can't get pregnant yet? So what makes a baby in her mother's womb any different? The little child is as much developed as you'd expect it to be at that stage. If our level of development has nothing to do with our value as a human being, then how can we say the life inside of its mother is of less value simply because it's less developed? The third difference between a preborn and a newborn is their environment or location. Is the unborn really a person if it's not in the world yet? Well, they are in the world, just in a different location. Just think about us. Our environment is always changing, but we know our personhood always remains the same. So let me ask, if the value of personhood is determined by one's environment, does that mean our value changes when we move from place to place? Is an astronaut less human than us simply because they're no longer on this planet? If our environment or location has nothing to do with our value as human beings, then how can we say that life inside of a womb is less valuable than ours simply because it's in a different location? The last difference between a preborn and a newborn is the degree of dependency. People often ask, if the unborn is totally dependent on its mother, then how can it be a person? I'm curious, why can't something so dependent be a person? There are many people who depend on others for their survival. For example, there are those with pacemakers or who are on life support in hospitals. Others are on dialysis machines or take medicine like insulin in order to survive. Without these life-saving elements, people will die. Those inside a plane are dependent on pilots. Passengers are counting on them to get them to their destination. Similarly, babies in the womb are counting on their mother to get them safely into the world. After all, the safest place in the world should be a mother's womb. A 20-month-old toddler can do many things, like play around and run around, but good hygiene, putting on clothes, and eating healthy are not some of them. So just because a baby still relies on her mother for all of these things, she's not any less human. So what makes a baby in a mother's womb any different? If personhood isn't determined by our degree of dependency, then how can we say that a little boy or girl's life inside of their mother's womb is less valuable than ours simply because they rely on their mother for survival?
It seems pretty clear that when we look at each of the elements in the acronym SLED, size, level of development, environment, and degree of dependency, none of them define our personhood or our value as human beings.
So I'm on the campus here at Cal State Fullerton in Southern California, and I'm going to see if students are willing to be so progressive that they're willing to sign a petition to legalize late-term abortion. How late, you ask? Well, it's so late, the child has already been born. Post-birth abortion. Let's find out, see if anybody's crazy enough to sign this thing. Hey, Chief, you want to sign a petition to legalize late-term abortion?
Sure.
It's late, it's post-birth. Yeah, well, it's after the child's actually been born. It's within the first 30 days is the idea, is the concept. So the child is fully healthy, fully good, but sometimes it just does a number on the parents, you know what I'm saying? And we want to make sure that they're able to do what they want to do. Would you be interested in signing a petition to legalize late-term abortion in California?
I would, but I'm a permanent resident. I'm not a U.S. citizen.
Okay. Well, thank you. She would, but she's not a U.S. citizen. Are you pro-choice?
Yeah.
If you'd be interested in signing that. It's so late, it's actually post-birth abortion. Sometimes parents have a hard time trying to distinguish. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Yeah, so the child is, is fully healthy and viable and stuff, but sometimes it's just too hard on the parents, and the parents need to make that late term. Like so late term, the child's already been born. Within the first 30 days, that's what it's been arguing before Congress. Is that wrong?
I mean, I'm pro-choice, but if it's a baby already.
When does it become a baby?
I know it gets heartbeat at 8 weeks, I believe.
21 days, heart begins to beat. Brain's forming at 35 days.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. I just think I don't know.
Is it wrong for all women in all places?
No, of course not.
No, they can make up their own mind?
Definitely cases where I think abortion is okay.
Hey, want to sign a petition to legalize late-term abortion? Don't be late. Pick it up.
Post-birth abortion.
Post-birth, yeah, the child's born, the child is fully healthy.
I think I need to do a little bit more research.
Yeah. What, are you guys pro-life, pro-choice? Where do you stand?
We're pro-choice.
Okay, all right, yeah. Late-term abortion in California.
To legalize
Late-term abortion. It's not legal in California. It's actually so late, might even shock you. It's post-birth. It's what's being argued in Ivy League schools up to 30 days after the child is born. Sometimes it's so traumatizing for the parents still.
Oh, that's a hard.
It's progressive.
topic. It's progressive, and I totally believe in women's choice. And
Yeah. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
That's a hard one. That's a hard one because it is post-birth, and 30 days is a long time. At the end of the day, abortion is, it's up to a woman. What do you?
Do you believe it's a baby in the womb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's just too hard for somebody to decide, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
But I think they should have that option.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But for the option.
Yeah. So that the child is it could be fully healthy. It could have Down syndrome. It could be viable, whatever it may be, right? But
That's really hard. This is.
craziness, right?
Yeah.
We are a nation that is quickly losing its moral compass. Common sense is being thrown out the window. We're a nation that believes no child should be left behind, but we've aborted over 61 million of them. We're a nation that weeps for the illegal children that are being separated from their parents at the border, yet we fight for a woman to kill her offspring. As long as we teach children that it's okay to kill children in the womb, we'll never convince them that it's wrong to kill children in a classroom. We live in a day and age where animals have more rights than humans. It's a crime to kill an eagle's egg, a felony to destroy a turtle's egg. Yet if a woman decides to kill her own child, we call her brave, but we say it's health care and a human right.